to ever come out of the Merrimack Valley area. In 1992, he posted a 46-4 record, went on to win the Division I state title, and placed third in New England. That year he also placed 13th at the national tournament. He was tabbed Eagle Tribune Wrestler of the Year and named both Boston Globe and Boston Herald All-Scholastic. As a sophomore, he finished runner-up in both state and New England tournaments. He posted an incredible 150 wins over his 4 years, with just 37 losses. Over the course of his 4 years, he won a total of 8 individual tournament crowns. He is also a member of the Massachusetts High School Wrestling Hall of Fame. After high school, Leonardo went on to excel at Boston University, where he was a 4-year starter. He was named the East Coast Wrestling Association Outstanding Wrestler. Leonardo has had a successful career as a senior franchise executive for many years. He currently resides in Miami, Florida, with his wife Carolina and his son Milan. Ladies and gentlemen, from the class of 1992, David Leonardo.
Thank you. It's such an amazing feeling to be here around so many family and friends, fellow inductees. Thank you, Tom, selection committee, and the Murphys, Bradford Country Club, everyone who's associated with really putting this together. It's really amazing that Haverhill has taken the time and effort to put something like this together. It's long overdue, and I hope it continues for a long time. I flew all the way up here from Miami to this, and it's not every day I get inducted into the Hall of Fame, so I apologize if I go a little bit over. So one of the things funny about life is that many times some of your most important lessons can best be viewed when looking into the rearview mirror. Less than halfway through the finish line, I just wanted to share several wrestling stories that I feel have helped mold the man I am today. So I was first introduced to wrestling at Constantino Middle School, thinking that I was going to be jumping off the top rope and doing pile drivers, and quickly realizing that it wasn't that type of wrestling, but quickly falling in love with the sport. And partly because it was really the first time in my life that I actually got to compete against other kids that were as small as me. Learning from these high school wrestlers that were coming in to teach us, it was really cool because I looked up to them and said, you know, how cool would it be to be a high school wrestler one day? And by the time I got to high school, it didn't take Coach Dunn too long to convince me that I should come out for the wrestling team. And so my freshman year started, and I was third on the depth chart at 103-pound weight class. I weighed 98 pounds, soaking wet, and to this day it was probably one of my most favorite years in high school because I didn't have to cut weight. So by the time we had our first match, however, instead of being third on the depth chart, I was actually starting varsity wrestling. And that was only in a matter of a month. And I wish I could sit here and tell you that I had these great matches against upperclassmen and I beat them, and it was just a long fought-out battle. But the truth of the matter is that both those kids quit before the first match, and I was left holding the varsity ticket. And so, which really, brought me to one of my first lessons. And it's if you work hard enough and you stick around, something good is eventually going to happen. I've never in my life invited so many people to that first match. It was against Drake-It. We used to wrestle at Drake-It first every season. And my friends, my brothers, my family, my church, my priest, it was just everyone I knew came to this match. And I was so excited to tell everybody that I was wrestling varsity. But unfortunately, the kid on the other side of the mat didn't get the memo and pinned me in less than a minute and a half. So that ended my record of ever inviting too many people to matches. But I quickly learned another lesson. And while showing up maybe half the battle, never forget about the other half. And I quickly realized that I had to work really, really hard if I was ever going to deserve that varsity letter that was put upon me. So this is where Coach Dunn's philosophies come into play, and I like to share one of them that has stuck with me forever. He had a philosophy called money in the bank. And basically what it is that for you to really have a little extra edge when at the end of the match, for you to have a little extra edge when you're down a couple points and have to score, you need to do the extra work. You need to do the extra push-ups, the extra sit-ups, the extra sprints. You can't just do what everyone else is doing and expect to excel. And this really hit home with me. And so what happens is, as you do more and more than what's expected, you start accumulating money in the bank so that when you need it, you make that withdrawal. And so you could hear coaches on the sidelines, Teddy and him, literally talking about pull the money out when you're dying of exhaustion and you really need that mental push. And it's something that really stuck with me for my entire life. Really, it's a beautiful lesson. I mean, you pay your dues today so that you can reap what you sow tomorrow. And it's something that that's just a beautiful philosophy, and I want to thank you for that. So, I, like many fellow inductees, was fortunate to be coached by a great leader. So Chip was a demanding coach in a very tough sport. He demanded more than 100%, and we gave it. But what's more interesting is that he demanded for you to give 100% and do it with class, and do it with character. During the tournaments, the Haverhill teams would be the ones helping clean and roll up the mats. Our cheering section was usually the loudest, and we were never a team that ran up the score on our opponents. The parents of the wrestlers were always involved, and I'm proud to say that some of those parents are even here today. Literally, the old adage that it takes a village could be represented in the way we were as a wrestling family. I thank you all for all that you've done for us, especially you parents and the people who've provided all the funding for us over the years. Chip also started the middle school wrestling program, which I was a part of. And at the end of every season, he expected his high school wrestlers to go back to the middle school at the end of the season and teach those kids how to wrestle. In coaching and teaching those middle school students, and hundreds of wrestlers since then, I found myself becoming a better student of the sport, learning in the process that one should always study your craft and master your basics. Another great lesson. It should be no surprise that under Chip's leadership, Haverhill won 2 statewide sportsmanship awards. And in my senior year, he was named Boston Globe Coach of the Year and Massachusetts Coach of the Year by the National Federation of State High School Associations. In 2014, I was able to fly up to be present during his induction into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. I tell you what, that's not bad for a guy who never wrestled a day in his life. Chip, I'm really happy that you and Cheryl can be here for this today, and I'm really happy that we stayed connected throughout all the years. I really look up to you. When I went off to college, I had to start all over again, and once again was fortunate to have a great coach in Carl Adams at Boston University. Every Christmas, we were given about a week to come home, and I would take advantage and work out with the Haverhill team. This was another great Haverhill tradition. As an alumni came in, Coach would stop the practice, bring everyone in, introduce that wrestler, talk about what that person meant to the Haverhill program, whether he was a varsity wrestler, a JV wrestler, or never even got in the lineup. And more importantly, he ended that with talking about what they were doing in their life today, whether they were working, whether they were going to school, what they were doing with their life. I tell you, nothing was more impressive as a high school kid to see and look up to all these kids that graduated and were still coming back to contribute their time and effort. Don't forget your roots. It was a great lesson. So I have one more wrestling story for you that a lot of my friends don't know this one because it's from college. My college career almost ended after my junior year. I had placed second in the conference for the 3rd time and was having serious shoulder issues as my twice operated shoulder kept popping out on me. Although I was captain of the wrestling team, my workouts were regulated to conditioning to prevent my shoulder from further injury. After much agony thinking things over, I decided to come back for one last year. And that year, I was able to drill in the wrestling room with very limited live wrestling as I wore a shoulder harness at all times, removing it only for the matches. That year I came into the conference tournament laser focused on leaving it all on the mat, win, lose, or draw for the last time. Seated 4th, I was able to upset some wrestlers to get to the finals of the tournament yet again. This time as the underdog and a bum shoulder, I was able to pin my opponent in the first period and win Outstanding Wrestler in my final year and make it to the NCAA tournament. Not too different from the way I finished my high school career. What I'm most proud of is really not winning the conference tournament, but coming back against all the odds and finishing what I started. That year I was given Boston University's Senior Leadership Award that goes out to a male athlete, and it's still one of the awards I'm most proud of to this day. I've never been the fastest. I've never been the strongest in the room. I've been blessed with amazing coaches in Chip and Teddy, and then Carl and Steve in college. I had some great role models in upperclassmen. Billy Mears, Mike Zano, Charlie Kellogg, Lance Pettis, Mark Trefficani, Harry Shaw, Alan David Duck. And then I had some amazing teammates that pushed each other throughout the course of the year and then through the summer. Phil Karaginas, Min Pham, Eric McKinnon, Fred Woodia, Jay Trefficani, Brendan Parker. It was just amazing how we just became a unit and really pushed each other to the limit. What's funny is that I started out just wanting to wrestle varsity, and with the right coaches, some amazing teammates, lots of money in the bank, I'm able to stand here today humbled and honored for the recognition. This sport has given me more than I could ever be able to repay, and I'm forever grateful for its lessons and people it's introduced me to. I wanted to thank my family who is here today. My two brothers, Dennis and Junior, who were my first wrestling partners, and have stuck by me through thick and thin, and I can honestly say are my biggest fans. I love you dearly. My wife Carolina, who is my rock and has more grit in her right arm than I have in my entire body. My son Milan, who just turned 7 months and is already showing signs of toughness as he refuses to sleep more than 4 hours straight without screaming for attention. And last but not least, my mom. This woman came to this country from the Dominican Republic with nothing, was embraced by the city of Haverhill, became a citizen, raised 3 men, bought a home, and instilled in us 2 main lessons: do right and work hard. She worked 3 jobs most of my life, and I'm happy to say she's enjoying her retirement in Miami, being a grandmother and enjoying our morning walks. My grandmother passed recently, and my mom is very sorry she could not be here tonight to celebrate this moment. But if there's any grit and toughness that I'm known for, I owe it to this warrior of a woman. Gracias, Mommy. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart.